So part of me waking up and seeing the truth about America is also seeing the truth about the Democrats. And rarely has this been more apparent to me than in some of the rambling answers Joe Biden was giving in an interview I just saw. Now, I want to say congratulations to Ben Meiselas of the Midas Touch Network for getting the interview. I think he did a great interview. I would have liked to seen a few more hard-hitting questions, but he asked some great questions. His manner was very good. He allowed Biden to relax in the interview and give detailed answers. But people have been saying over and over the Democrats are bad at messaging. I mean, the first question that Ben asked, and I would have asked this too, I think any good interviewer would have asked this question first, which, what do you think are your biggest accomplishments? And he just started rambling on and never really got anywhere. And I'm going to have to make the case that Joe Biden is one of the worst presidents in American history, even though he did so well on so many things. And just to cut to the chase, the reason why I'm going to argue this is because Biden's legacy was letting Trump back into the White House. That is his entire legacy now. All the other stuff he accomplished, which will help Americans, those things are transitory, and I don't know how many of them can be undone by legislation now that Republicans have everything. The House just about, the Senate, the Supreme Court, and the White House. They've got it all. So I'm just going to go through some of the Biden administration's historic accomplishments, just credit where credit's due. I think Joe Biden did an incredible job on the bread and butter policy and administration of the government, providing public services and infrastructure and all the rest of it, security and standards, regulations to the people. He did a fantastic job. It's just that none of that really matters now the fucking fascist got back into the White House again. The fascist traitor, he's an insurrectionist, and he somehow got back in again, and it's very clear how he got back in. I'm going to make the case it's completely Biden's fault. Obviously, whose fault it actually is Trump himself and all the Republicans that prop Trump up. So I'll be clear on that. But we know they're going to do that. We know that that is who they are. So given that we know that that's who they are, it's down to the Democrats, and that was Joe Biden was the president, to hold Trump to account and prevent that from happening. And he failed miserably. As far as I can see, he didn't even try. Because I don't think anyone thought Trump could get back in again. I didn't think he could get back in again after the insurrection. I was dumb. I was dumb to believe in any of this crap. The Democrats are not a serious party. They're not serious. They just mess about and they sit there all calm. Have you noticed how Republicans are always angry and Democrats are always calm? At some point, when things are so bad, if you're still remaining calm, there's fucking something wrong with you. There's something wrong with you if you're not angry about what's happened. And you're just going to sit there and be calm and have decorum. It just doesn't work. Get angry, Democrats. I think you can tap into the anger of the American people who are decent people and want something good. Tap into that anger. Okay, so let's look at some of Biden's accomplishments. Passed a $1.2 trillion bipartisan infrastructure package to increase investment in the national network of bridges and roads, airports, public transport, and national broadband internet, as well as waterways and energy systems. We've got over 500 million COVID-19 vaccinations into the arms of Americans, actually, injected. $369 billion investment in climate change, the largest in American history. He pulled out of Afghanistan, like he said he would. Provided college debt relief to Americans with loans, student loans who make under $125,000 a year. He cut child poverty in half. Capped prescription drug prices at $2,000 per year for seniors on Medicare through the Inflation Reduction Act. Passed a COVID-19 relief deal that provided payments of up to $1,400 to many struggling US citizens. Achieved historically low unemployment rates after the pandemic caused them to skyrocket. strengthen NATO in support of Ukraine. Obviously, the support of Ukraine has been fantastic all the way through. It's a shame that everyone couldn't give just that little bit more to help Ukraine win the war decisively in the first year, but there we are. I don't know if that's deliberate or not at this point. Created 6.6 million jobs in 1 year, more than any other president in US history. Reduced healthcare premiums under the Affordable Care Act by $800 a year. Signed the PACT Act to address service members' exposure to burn pits and other toxins. Signed the CHIPS and Science Act to strengthen American manufacturing and innovation. Reauthorized the Violence Against Women Act through 2027. I'm pretty sure the Republicans didn't want that to happen. So there's just a list of some of Biden's accomplishments, and they are incredible accomplishments, and some of them were bipartisan. And he did a fantastic job on that front. But what he failed to do was he failed to get through the John Lewis Voting Rights Amendment Act, which basically puts in a lot of protections to disenfranchised voters because of the way there's so much corruption in the way jurisdictions are drawn in America, where they create these really weird shapes to group all the black people into just one or two districts, or all the Democrats into just one or two districts, so the Republicans can have a whole bunch of districts, even though if you just divided it fairly, it would be much more even split between Democrats and Republicans. That's called gerrymandering. There's all kinds of other stuff they do, purging the voter rolls, and just finding ways to make it really hard for black people in particular, but also immigrants who are now naturalized citizens who have the right to vote, and generally anyone who might vote Democrat. He failed to pass that act, and I saw someone say you should have shut down the government over this act, and they're right. And he should have done it at the start of his term. Watching Biden in this interview, he looked so old, and he's rambling on. He's in denial about what he's done and what the Democrats have done. There's no self-accountability here. There's no looking in the mirror and saying, Jesus Christ, I just fucking handed America over to this fascist traitor who's beholden to Putin and Xi and whoever else will pay him some money or's got dirt on him. Again. That's your legacy, Joe Biden. That's your legacy of your entire career as a public servant since you were 30. But now, sadly, a lifetime's public service and his legacy will be failing to hold Trump to account. And he's not holding himself to account for why he did it. He was too old to run in the first place, in my opinion. I don't necessarily think that a woman or a black person, or especially a black woman such as Kamala Harris, could have won against Trump in 2020. But I think most of the white male Democrats, younger than Biden, who were young enough to have two terms without the media going on and on and on, hammering Biden about his age. And the double standard of hammering Biden about his age when Trump is like 3 years younger, and Trump's just talking like a dementia patient who's escaped from the home, the old people's home. And the media just says, well, that's just Trump, that's just Trump being Trump, which it isn't, because his rambling and dissembling and all the rest of it has gotten way worse when you compare the clips of him from 2024 campaign to the clips of him in the 2016 campaign. There's a massive difference. There's not a huge difference in what he's saying, but his energy levels and the way he's saying it is very different. So obviously the media is complicit in all of this as well. There is no question about that. The media is complicit. Joe Biden's legacy is as follows. He didn't pass the Voting Rights Act, which didn't stop people from causing problems for voters, and the Republicans had 4 years to prepare for this. And he appointed the worst Attorney General in history, Merrick Garland. I think he's worse than Bill Barr, any other corrupt Republican Attorney General, because it is corrupt in the extreme to have been so worried about appearances to not go after a criminal former president for all the crimes he committed, including, not least of which, betraying his oath of office and trying to overthrow the peaceful transfer of power and hold on to power even after he lost a free and fair election. And Merrick Garland didn't appoint Jack Smith for like 2 fucking years. And Biden should have fired him after he hadn't done it for 6 months. But of course, he should never have appointed Merrick Garland in the first place. He should have appointed a bulldog. And all of this about, let's worry about norms. Let's worry about how things look and what people are going to think and say. How about we worry about reality and what the fuck is actually happening? You know, obviously I'm in the UK, but this affects me too. This affects everybody because America is the most powerful country in the world. And they've been setting the tone and they've been setting democracy as the world order. Well, if America falls, which I believe it will now, either it will actually destroy itself or it will just become an authoritarian state. Either way, they're now setting the tone that Russia and China would set for the world. That's the dominant world order, is dictatorships and authoritarians. That's Joe Biden's legacy. He should have said to his Attorney General pick before he nominated him, I'm looking for an Attorney General who is going to vigorously and urgently pursue indictment and prosecution of every single person who was involved in the January 6th insurrection and who believes it was an insurrection and a failed coup attempt. And I'm looking for someone who's going to go after everyone without fear or favour. And isn't going to be worried about appearances, they're just going to be worried about getting justice for January the 6th. And the Attorney General, which should have been a black woman most likely, who was going to be appointed by Joe Biden, because leave it to a black woman to get done what a white man can't, as far as I can see, in America. And she would have said, that's what I'm planning to do, Mr. President. Didn't have to mention Trump's name. We all know Trump was at the head of it. Trump himself knows he was the head of it. But Biden didn't do that. He appointed this wet, pathetic, mealy-mouthed, useless excuse for a man, the abject failure to hold Trump to account for the Russia collusion in 2016, as well as everything else, for the January 6th plot to overturn the election results and hold on to power, the insurrection plot, because it was a plot, it wasn't just what happened on January 6th, there was a lot of stuff in the run-up to it, all the corruption and criminality there. Then the documents, the FBI should have just arrested him. They should have just arrested Trump as soon as they found him with the documents. They're bargaining with him for like 18 fucking months or whatever it was. It's insane. We are not blind to the fact that justice is not blind in America. And by the way, it's not blind in my country or any Western country or any country in the world. The justice system that we have established is completely fucking useless. It works as a deterrent to some extent to stop regular people from committing crimes because they're afraid of being caught and punished. But rich people, they don't have to worry about being caught and punished because they can afford the best lawyers who will find the ways to get out of it. And rich, powerful people, like, say, for example, former presidents in America, sure as hell don't have to worry about anything, do they? The guy was already a serial fucking rapist and a liar and a con man and a grifter, committing crimes, not paying his bills on the construction projects, and then suing people who sued him. All these nuisance lawsuits or meritless lawsuits and countersuits, and then the courts just let him get away with it. And then the Supreme Court that he appointed through Mitch McConnell's hypocrisy, they give presidential immunity, and Biden does nothing with that presidential immunity. And he invites the fascist traitor who he just lost the election for. Because let's be honest, it wasn't Kamala Harris who lost this election. It was Joe Biden. Because he should have just not been greedy. He should have said, I'm gonna do one term. Now, I don't think he should have said that right at the beginning, because that makes him a lame duck president straight away, and that can cause some problems. But when asked, are you going to run again? He could say yes for the first 2 years. And then when it comes time to the point where you would normally have the Democratic primary, or maybe even a little bit before that, maybe say 18 months before the election, Joe Biden announces, I was planning to run, and I'm incredibly proud of my record, but I have decided to be a one-term president because I am getting old and we need fresh blood and we need a new generation. I've got us back on track. I've got our economy back on track. And here's all my list of accomplishments. And instead of rambling on like an idiot, I'm actually going to go boom, 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 like Brian Tyler Cohen does. He's got it memorized. Boom, 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 boom. He can hit like 6, 8, 10 different points of the Biden administration's greatest achievements. He just reels them off in a list. And that's what every Democrat should do. Brian Tyler Cohen has got the right idea. And Biden should have announced and said, I'm not running for a second term. I've changed my mind. This is a stressful job. I'm definitely confident I'm going to finish my first term strong. But I think it's the job of a younger person, and such as, for example, my Vice President Kamala Harris, to carry this on for the Democrats. And then they could have had a robust primary, and maybe they would have picked Kamala, or maybe they wouldn't have done. But she'd have had a much better chance. She ran an incredible campaign under extreme conditions. She destroyed Trump in the debate. She did everything right. She ran one of the best political campaigns there's ever been, and Trump ran literally the worst, and he still won. Which just shows that campaigns are meaningless, basically, at this point. I'm at a loss for words sometimes about what a fucking outrage this is and how fucking stupid and selfish and hateful, ignorant so many fucking Americans are. The most entitled, stupid, ignorant group of white people on the face of the fucking earth lives in America. And the worst religious hypocrites of all, the worst, most fanatical religious hypocrites live in America too. And the rest of the Americans, the white people who aren't fucking entitled morons, and all the minorities have to suffer because of these assholes. Anyway, the point is this. Joe Biden's legacy will forever be that he let Trump get back in, and Trump had 4 years, and all the people around him had 4 years to create Project 2025 and plan it all out. We would have been better off if the Democrats had just run a younger black woman in 2020 and lost to Trump, and he'd had his second term in 2020 and it was over with now. Or he tried to get a third term or whatever, and the people were out perhaps on the streets fighting it. We'd have been better off than this. This is a worse outcome than Trump winning in 2020. This is an absolute fucking disaster for the entire world, that we're subjected to this piece of subhuman garbage again. This fascist monster. This guy is the absolute pits. He is evil and stupid. He is bumbling and also incredibly cruel and vindictive and vengeful and spiteful. He's a bigot of every single flavor, and now we've got him again. Well, we knew that the Republicans were going to try and do this, and it was up to the Democrats to stop them. And they failed, and they don't want to look themselves in the mirror and see what they did. And they're still going to carry on failing and carrying water for Republicans and bailing them out. You watch them bail them out. You watch them bail them out in the next few days with this continuing resolution. They're not going to say, oh, this is the first Trump shutdown. They're not going to let them do it. They're going to bail them out. The Democrats are never going to learn. The Democrats are not going to save you, America. It's down to you, the people, to save yourselves. I'm not sure how you're going to do it, but the Democrats sure as hell are not going to save you from the fascist party that the Republicans have become in the last, I don't know, you could say 10 years, but you could also argue 20 years since Bush, the second Bush. So I'm very sad. I really used to respect Joe Biden. I respect his record and I respect his service. But as a man and a person and a president, I do not respect him. Because he got greedy and he put his own entitlement and desire for power to hold on to power for 8 years in front of the welfare of America, and also his pride in realizing how weak his attorney general was, or being worried about appearances and not firing the guy and putting in a bulldog instead when it wasn't going well. All of these failures that allowed Trump to come back in 4 years later, and he just shakes hand with him and invites him to the White House like it's a game, and decorum is more important. And at the end of this interview, he said he was optimistic, that he thinks the American people are going to get to the right place in the end. We just got to keep fighting. Well, the problem is, Mr. President, Mr. Outgoing President, one term, Joe Biden, a lot of those Americans are going to die in this fight against Trump now. They're going to die. They're going to die when they roll back healthcare. They're going to die when they get rid of vaccines. They're going to die when they raise prices. They're going to die when he withholds aid for disaster relief. They're going to die when there's another pandemic and Trump says it's all going to go away like a miracle again. They're going to die when Trump starts wars or fails to prevent wars because he's so weak and easily manipulated. They're going to die from racism at a higher rate. They're going to die from withholding healthcare that's considered abortions from women who need to be helped because they've had a miscarriage and the dead fetus needs to be removed from them before it gives them blood poisoning. And they don't get it and they die because the doctors are worried about going to prison because it's still considered an abortion, even though the fetus is no longer viable. It's dead inside the mother. She wanted to be a mother. And now she's got a dead fetus inside her and it's going to kill her. That's going to happen more. It's already happening more since the Supreme Court ruling. All of these different reasons why more Americans are going to die. From homophobia and transphobia, xenophobia, Islamophobia, anti-Semitism. There's going to be more hate crimes, more poverty, more homelessness. That's your legacy, Joe Biden. That's your legacy, Democrats. Unless you fucking wake up and listen to what people like AOC and Bernie are saying and actually become progressive and run on that, things are never going to change. I think it's already too late. I think America's had it now. But if they are going to get saved, then the Democrats have got 2 years to get their act together, and if they don't do it for the midterms in 2026, then I just don't see they're ever going to. I don't hold out any hope. My eyes are open now, and I see America for who they are. And as Professor Alan Lichtman, who's got a fantastic channel, says, in summary, the Republicans have no morals and the Democrats have no spine, and that is the problem with American politics today.